Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Terr, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2924, which is Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac. This was a hit for them, top 10 hit in 1987. I'll get back to that later, but first, I want to give you kind of a brief history of the band Fleetwood Mac. They had a very long history. Here's a picture of them, I think kind of at their height in the late 70s. But they got started in 1967, way back, and they were started in London. They were kind of a blues band from London, and their original the guy who started the group was a guy named Peter Green. He was a singer and guitarist, and the original members of the group included him as well as Mick Fleetwood, the drummer, as well as Jeremy Spencer and Bob Brunning. Jeremy Spencer was a singer and guitarist, and Bob Brunning was a bassist. And then in 1968, they also recruited a couple other guys, Danny Kiwian, singer guitarist, and Christine Perfect, originally known as Christine McVie. She later changed her name back to Christine McVie. Here she is. I think she stayed with them throughout the rest of their career. She was one of their lead singers and also a keyboardist, and then they really didn't make it big until the 70s. In 74, they recruited a couple other members. They moved to LA. I guess a couple of their members left. They had to replace a couple of them. They also recruited Stevie Nicks, shown here. She was another great singer with the band. Went on to have a really good solo career later as well. Yeah, as well as um, Lindsey Buckingham. I guess he replaced one of their earlier guitarists, I think Jeremy Spencer. And they also Spencer was replaced by Bob Welch. Shown. I have a picture of some. Maybe I forgot to put him, but anyway, they made it really big in the mid '70s. Their first kind of international number one album came out in 1975. It was just called Fleetwood Mac, also known as the White Album. I don't know why, because the Beatles had an album also known as the White Album, but you could see it was white, and it had some really great songs on it. I had this album. It had Monday Morning, and it also had Rhiannon and Over My Head, Say You Love Me, and Landslide. All really great songs and all hit songs. And then the following year, or in '77, they had even a bigger album. This one was called Rumors, and this is actually one of the biggest albums of the rock era. I think it was like number one for something like 31 weeks, and I think the previous record that it beat was by it was the biggest, it was the album that was number one the longest, I believe, since the West Side Story soundtrack, which I think still holds a record for most weeks at number one, 54 weeks. I never owned that album, but I've seen the movie West Side Story many, many times. Wonderful movie, wonderful music. But anyway, getting back to Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, I had this album too. This one had some great songs, and I'm just going to name the top 10 song. Dreams, that was our only number one song, by the way, but I think it's a really wonderful song. Also had Don't Stop, which is also a really excellent song. Kind of interesting, Stevie Nicks sang lead on about, I'd say, about half of their songs, and Christine McVie on the other half. Dreams was sang lead by Stevie Nicks. Don't Stop by Christine McVie. Also, Go Your Own Way, I think, was actually sing lead by Mick Fleetwood. And You Make Love and Fun, also by Christine McVie. Those were all top 10 songs on this album. I mean, everybody was listening to this album in 1977. It was the next really big album like this was the following year's Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Those were two albums everybody was listening to when I started high school. Um, anyway, yeah, that was their biggest album. And then in '79, they had another big album called Tusk. That had some other big hits on it, including Think About Me, Sarah, and the title track Tusk. I never really got the song Tusk. I mean, it was a big hit. I don't know what it's about. They had the UC, the US, I think it was the UC LA Trojan marching band playing along with them on that one. There's even a video where they're playing along with them, but I never really got that song. It is on my list, though. Several of these songs made my list, by the way. I don't know how many total Fleetwood Mac songs I have on my list. I think about a dozen or so. This is the last of them. So this isn't my favorite. I'll get to it later, but I want to continue going through. Yeah, that I guess I am up to it now. They didn't have another big album until 1987, and that was Tango in the Night. And that one it actually featured three big songs: that Big Love, um, Everywhere, and the one I'm featuring today, Little Lies. And I think just about every song I mentioned made my list. That just kind of shows you how wonderful a band I think Fleetwood Mac was. Little Lies, it's a good song, but it's not really one of my favorites. That's why I put it I guess the last of their songs on my list. But it's okay. Maybe I don't like the title so much. It's about, I guess, the lover, the female lover in the relationship wants her boyfriend to tell her all these sweet little lies. And I've always been very honest, probably too honest. Maybe that's why I don't like this song because I can't tell a lie. I mean, I go overboard in the opposite direction. I have a really hard time telling a white lie, even. And that's probably a problem. I'm working on that. I'll have to learn how to tell white lies. I despise lying in general. Especially when meant for deception. I think people need to know the truth about just about everything. That's just what I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I know there's exceptions. Like it would have been wrong to tell the Gestapo you were hiding Holocaust victims. I know that one. There's other examples that aren't even that extreme, but I've just always been too honest. Maybe that's why I've had a rough life because I've told a lot of people things they didn't need to know. So anyway, a little bit about me. But anyway, that's my profile on Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.